Hi friends, in this video I'm going to explain about changing the Linux kernel configuration parameters using the system sysctl command. Okay, so basically in Linux kernel we have a lot of configurations that are available which are configurable. There are parameters that are available which we can configure during the time of building the kernel. The configurations would include about the system architecture, virtualization, the loadable modules that needs to be supported, and things like that. So we have a list of configurations which are available for us to mm, choose and configure for. Okay, so out of this, some of the parameters are actually tunable at runtime. So these tunable parameters can be modified when the kernel is up and running using the sysctl command. So let's now see how this can be done. Very simple. There is a command called sysctl -a which will list down all the kernel configuration parameters in one shot. So let's take an example to configure a simple parameter, which is the one in this slide, which we see like ICMP echo ignore all. So by default it will be set to 0, which means it will respond to all the ICMP ping requests. So we can try to set to 1, which means to ignore all the ICMP ping requests that are coming towards the system. Okay, let's try that configuration, runtime configuration of this kernel configuration parameter using the sysctl command. So to search the configuration parameter, we can use sysctl -ar and single quotes. Under single quotes we can give ICMP. It will list down all the configuration parameters that are available for the ICMP protocol, and let's see that sysctl -a will list down all the configuration parameters for us, and sysctl -ar ICMP will list down all the ICMP related configuration parameters for us. Okay, so in order to read the configuration parameter specifically for a particular parameter, we can use sysctl. We can take IPv4 ICMP echo ignore all. If you type like this, it'll give us the current value is 0. So in case if you want to write it, if you want to set it to 1, we have to give the same command with the -w option, and we can directly set it to 1 like this. So yeah, so now it is set to 1. We can try reading that now. It is 1 now. So let's try to ping the local host, that is 127.0.0.1. so it's now blocked, or it is not responding because the parameter is now changed to 1. Let me change back to 0 now. Now I have changed back to 0. Just when I change back to 0, you can see the ping that was stopped started resuming, and it has started responding to the ping request. So this is how the configuration parameters can be dynamically changed. So one thing here is actually what the change that we have done will not persist across reboot. So in case we want to persist a change across reboot, we may need to put a configuration file in the sysctl.d directory. I'll tell you about that. So already in the sysctl.d directory. So in the sysctl.d directory, if you list down, there are multiple configuration files. which are created for specific purposes. We can create our own specific file. I have created 10 minus test.conf. The 10 is the priority which will be considered by the sysctl utility. So the more the priority, the configuration parameter would be overridden by the high priority config file. The configuration parameter that is set as one value at the lower priority file will get overwritten by the high priority file. So that's how it works. So I have taken 10 as a like any other configuration file. I have taken 10 minus test.conf, and I have configured the file's value as now I'll configure it to 1, and I will save this. So just want to keep one thing in mind, that all this are very critical in nature, so it needs a super user login. So make sure all these things are done under root login, so then only you will be allowed to save things like that. So to apply this change that you have done in the test.conf, either you can go and reboot the system, or we can also do we can also use the sysctl to read this new settings by the option by giving the option -p and passing the file name, which is present in /etc sysctl.t, and configuration file is test. Yes, now it is read the configuration. Now the configuration is persistent, and let's try this whether the ping is, yeah, so ping is not working now because I have set the value as 1. So if I let me revert it back, because otherwise it will read it back to 0, and then I'm again reading the value, and now it is my ping is actually got resumed. So that's how we can have the changes persistent across reboot. So let's see the command once again to make the changes which would not persist. So the command is sysctl -w and give net.ipv4.icmp _echo _ignore _all equal to 1. And if you want to make these changes persistent across reboot, then create a file, configuration file, place it under sysctl.d directory, and then have the sysctl utility to read this configuration file to take the new configuration into account as a persistent way. You can either do that, or we can reboot the system to have these changes persistently. Yeah, pretty much that's all, guys. So you can try yourself. In case if you have any doubts, feel free to share with me your issues. I'll be able to help you. Thanks for watching. Bye.